Okay, so we're going to be configuring SSH. SSH gives network admins a secure remote access to a networking device. And there's some requirements in order for SSH to work. First, the device needs network connectivity. We're going to be using the IP address of the device in order to get inside of it. So it needs connectivity. Next, we need to make sure that the device has a proper host name and domain name. And after that, we need to generate keys for the device so that we can encrypt the session. So keys. After we configure SSH, we need to apply those settings to the VTY lines. Oops, what the heck. Here we go, VTY lines. Like LineCon 0, VTY lines are used to access the device just over a network. So that's what we would be using for SSH. And then after that, we need to configure a username with a password. And that's what we're going to use to get inside the device. Okay, so we need to configure those things on our device, and the device that we're going to be SSHing into is a router. And I'm just going to connect a router to one computer. Now there could be a bunch of devices in between the computer and the router, like switches or other routers, and as long as there's a network connection between the end device and that networking device, it'll be able to SSH inside of it. So it doesn't have to be directly connected to it as long as it can reach it. But for this case, we're just going to directly connect the computer. We're going to be using the network 192.168.10. I'll give the computer .1/24, and the router will give 192.168.10.2. Okay, so that's what we're going to be configuring. So let me go over here and let's drop a router and a computer. Let me rename these to match my diagram. I'll just name this PC. And from F00, we'll connect to the computer. So first thing, I'm just going to go into the laptop and change the IP settings. So this will be 192.168.10.1, and we'll make the gateway 10.2. Okay. So first thing for our router, let's go ahead and change the host name. Host name is going to be RTR for router, and let's configure it a domain name, IP domain name, and I'm just going to call it Cisco.lab. That'll be our fake domain name. And we need a network connection, so I'm going to go back to interface F00, shut the port, and give it the IP address 192.168.10.2 and /24. Should be able to ping the PC already. 10.1. Okay, we have a network connection, we have a host name, we have a domain name. We need to generate the keys. So crypto key generate RSA general keys modulus 2048. You could have different sizes for the keys. I use 2048 because that's fairly secure, and you'll see that it says the key modulus size is 2048 bits, generating 24-bit RSA keys. Okay, next thing to do is type SSH version 2. And now that we have the network connection, hostname, domain name, and keys, we need to apply SSH to the VTY lines. So I'm going to type line VTY 015. That's going to configure all 16 of the VTY lines. To set it up, transport input SSH and login local. We're using login local so that SSH will refer the connection to a local username and password for access. So we need to configure a username and password. So I'm going to type username, and let's just call this username admin, privilege 15, so that it has the highest privilege, and secret for an encrypted password. Call that password. Okay, so we went down the checklist. We have network connectivity, host name, domain name, the keys, VTY line, and username, password. We can ping the laptop. Laptop should be able to ping the router. So let's go ahead and go back to the computer and try to SSH into the router. I'm going to open up the command prompt. I'm just going to double check the connection 192.168.10.2. Let's ping it. Make sure that we get replies, and then I'm going to SSH into the device. So SSH TAC L for login, the username, admin, and then the IP address 192.168.10.2. And then it prompts me for the password, and I'm inside the router. So now I'm remotely accessing the router from the computer. And I can do everything that I would normally do from the router right here through the command prompt. And if I type exit, I'm back inside the computer's command prompt. So that's it. That is how you configure SSH.